I was gone for 4 days. And so he had a great, fantastic like phone, social media, Twitter cleanse for 4 days.
That feels good.
And then I was able to like kind of look at Twitter, look at like all my feeds with fresh eyes when I came back. And it is just politics on politics.
Crazy, right?
All like my podcast feeds, which are both crypto and non-crypto, are politics content.
Yeah.
The crypto Twitter timeline feed is all politics. Granted, we just had an attempted assassination of what might be the next president. So like, of course, people are going to be talking about politics.
Yeah.
But politics has just swarmed everything, just left and right.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say it's not justified. This is a pretty massive election and an assassination. Okay, so where were you when you heard about this, the assassination attempt?
I was on my way out of Brussels to head to Chamonix, France.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was at the end of ETHCC.
You see it pop up on Twitter and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah,
Was it one of those situations?
Exactly, yeah.
It's like
it was right as I was about to go to bed because I was 6 hours ahead of United States time. And it's just like one of those things where like, I'm already aware that we're on the craziest timeline ever, and so like I guess like okay, here we go. Like there's another weird thing that's unfolding.
Can you believe how close it came? That was crazy for me. It's like when I first saw the news, it just flashed and like what happened? Like is he okay? And then fortunately, it didn't take long for me to like tell that he was okay. It's like thank God. Right. But in the aftermath of that, looking at how close we came, like an inch, a tilt of the head away, like the wind blowing in a different way, in a different direction, would have been a completely different outcome. And I just feel like, what timeline are we living in here? Like this is, I mean, it could have been completely different roll up today. Could have been a completely different country. Could have been a completely different reality.
Yeah, there's some like reference to like Schrodinger here, where just like we have chosen a particular fork of the universe, and it was very clearly like a choice that happened. Apparently, we're in the universe in which Trump gets a clip off of his ear, and crypto prices start like rocketing. Like I remember like just noticing that, like watching the videos, going through the Twitter feeds, looking at the Trump assassination, and then looking at the crypto prices, which all like immediately jumped like 2, 3, 4%. But it was very noticeable, like right after the failed assassination. Crypto markets pump, and the stock market was closed if I'm remembering correctly. And it was just like such a strong like correlation of just failed assassination, crypto prices pump.
Can you imagine? So assassination attempt, that would be absolutely horrible. I imagine the markets would go in the other direction, probably amplified by like a massive amount, because just like a massive amount of uncertainty. So that happened Saturday, David. Trump didn't get assassinated. And then I believe this was Monday, he announced his vice president pick, a gentleman by the name of Senator J.D. Vance. This is his post. After lengthy deliberation and thought, considering the tremendous talents of others, I've decided that the best person suited to assume the president of VP of the United States is Senator J.D. Vance. So the question is, who is J.D. Vance? You did some research on this while you're out, yeah?
Yeah. Well, I was actually like prepping for the show, and since I'm 6 hours ahead of you, I actually did have time to actually catch up on the news. People might know this book, Hillbilly Elegy, which was a big book that kind of catalyzed a lot of the populist sentiment right before the 2016 election. It's this book that is set in this like in the Appalachian about this highly educated Appalachian lawyer, and Appalachia is known to be not educated for it. And it was kind of like a rallying cry for a lot of the conservative right, of the lower class conservative right, that ended up it put a lot of sentiment into words about the right's feelings towards the social elite and the coastal elite. And so this was a kind of an influential book that helped catalyze what came to be a very populist ran election. Like even Bernie Sanders, a populist president, was still very, very relevant back then. And so J.D. Vance is the author of Hillbilly Elegy. He is also a Republican senator. And so it's kind of an interesting pairing where you have Trump, the media man, with this Republican U.S. senator who wrote this book, who is like also understands like culture and media, and it's another step away from just like the traditional like lifetime politician. Interestingly, as it relates to crypto, J.D. Vance has previously drafted a bill that would completely overhaul the SEC and the CFTC's stance on crypto. So this is a populist right-wing senator who has explicitly made pro-crypto legislation and try to get it pushed through Congress. And so this, in addition to the sentiment that the markets felt positively towards the failed assassination attempt, which I think markets are just pricing in like, oh, the failed assassination attempt is probably going to like lock in the Trump election. So that was bullish. And then on Monday, we get this J.D. Vance guy who's going to be Trump's vice president, who is explicitly very pro-crypto and has tried to push through positive pro-crypto legislation. So we get this like 1-2 punch in like the positive direction.
Yeah. So J.D. Vance is very pro-crypto. Actually, I was on with Representative French Hill, who you just mentioned J.D. Vance in passing. I asked him about him, and apparently J.D. Vance may be taking the lead on some legislation. You remember Fit 21 that was going to the Senate? Yep. J.D. Vance is the Senate. He may be catching the ball right now and actually working on his version of legislation of Fit 21. So I don't know all the details yet, but Representative Hill mentioned this in passing. We do know a few other things. So he's young. Particularly for a U.S. politician and senator in these times. So he's like 39 years old. So he's a millennial generation, and that's interesting. He also has voted for the SAB 121 repeal, as you can imagine. He's a crypto holder. Yeah. So as of 2022, he owned at least $250,000 worth of Bitcoin, likely has more now. He slammed Gary Gensler in open letters. We have a clip we're going to play coming up. It's basically further evidence that he is a pro-crypto candidate and that the Trump White House will be pro-crypto, right? And this he gets an A on Stand With Crypto, the standwithcrypto.org website.
I think the big question right now is this J.D. Vance selection as Trump's vice president, is it the fact that he is pro-crypto, is that a coincidence? Or was that like an explicit influence in Trump's selection of him as well? And I'm kind of thinking it might be the latter. I'm gonna go ask David Bailey, who is the founder, operator, owner of Bitcoin Media, Bitcoin Magazine, who is the policy advisor to Trump. He's the guy like kind of steering the ship in terms of like Trump's crypto policy. So I'm gonna see if we can get him on the podcast and get his perspective.
I think you sort of like have to broaden it too. So I also didn't mention he's a VC under the Silicon Valley VC under the tutelage of Peter Thiel. I don't know if you saw that this morning as well.
Also very conservative, pro-Trump.
There's like a tech play here, which is very interesting, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit later. It's Silicon Valley has really rallied around Trump in the past week, and I think J.D. Vance is all part of that. So that's J.D. Vance. This is him. Maybe we should play a clip surfaced by Crypto Twitter of previous statements of Senator Vance. He's actually talking about Gary Gensler, and Crypto Twitter surfaced this. I think it's pretty interesting.
If there's a candidate for worst person, in my view, at least in terms of my substantive disagreements, I'm sure he's like a nice guy, is Gary Gensler. Okay, so Gary Gensler is sort of the complete opposite of my view. And there are two problems that I have with Gary, one of which is that I think he wants to inject politics way too much into the actual business of securities in the United States of America. But in some ways, the more fundamental issue, or at least the most relevant issue for this particular conference is the approach that Gary has taken to regulating blockchain and crypto seems to be almost the exact opposite of what it should be. And I'm oversimplifying a little bit, but the question the SEC seems to ask in regulating crypto is this a token with utility? And if it's a token with utility, then they seem to want to ban it. And if it's a token without utility, they don't seem to care. I almost think we should be the opposite here, right? I worry about financialization. I worry about, frankly, whether a lot of the crypto stuff is fundamentally fake. But if a token actually has utility, that's the sort of thing that, by all means, regulate it. By all means, be careful about, how consumers interact with it. But you don't want to just get rid of this stuff. And here's where I really, really worry about this is a lot of the newest challengers to social media, the social media incumbents of 2024 are going to require.
So he seems to be opening the door for tokens that do more than just represent memes, like tokens with cash flows, tokens that are real, and opening the door to that.
Yeah, and expressing a pretty deep knowledge about what's going on in the industry, like beyond just money on the internet. Like he's talking about he's alluding to social platforms and underlying blockchain technology beyond just sending tokens around.
Another win for crypto related to politics was an actual app. You know, people say, where are the apps? Here's an app that works. It's called Polymarket, okay? And the great thing about Polymarket is a prediction market. It actually predicted that J.D. Vance was the best predictor that J.D. Vance was going to be Trump's VP pick of any prediction market. It was the most accurate, and it reflected the probability, like you saw it spiking up right before the announcement to like 70% odds. And if you go to the Polymarket page right now, it is doing a fantastic job predicting some of these political outcomes. I even heard on the
and just being
podcast,
relevant. It's just extremely relevant.
Yeah, and it's starting to get mentioned, referenced in mainstream. I even heard Sam Harris podcast mention prediction markets as like just in the context of what's going to happen. Is Biden going to drop out? Well, right now, Polymarket says there is a 76% chance that Biden drops out, and given high. That's given its previous performance, right? I actually rate that as probably pretty accurate with respect to probability. So this is particularly with these political decisions.
Well, I don't think you know more than Polymarket, Ryan.
I don't. Nobody does, right? But like that's the beauty of it. That's what prediction markets should do, and it's just a great use case for crypto here.
It is very refreshing seeing Polymarket either explicitly or implicitly alluded to. Like on all of my non-crypto media feeds, like prediction markets are being referenced, and I know they're all talking about Polymarket because I can go and reference the numbers, but also because Polymarket has like 85% of all market share of all prediction market volume, and so this is like where liquidity and accuracy are actually intersecting, and liquidity kind of actually matters in like what is more of a downstream market to place bets on is like who's Trump's vice president going to be. There's at least 5 more markets that are ahead of that. Anyways, on other things that are about politics and also bullish crypto, Donald Trump is apparently considering Jamie Dimon as Treasury Secretary. And not just that, but I will also add that a Forbes headline reads, Trump reveals JP Morgan CEO's sudden Bitcoin and crypto flip. And I want to emphasize, Donald Trump is saying that Jamie Dimon is now bullish crypto. Like the fact that Donald is the harbinger of this message is crazy.
Right. What happened, I'm sure, was like, hey, you want the job, Treasury Secretary, you got to be pro crypto. You got to be pro Bitcoin.
You think he said that?
110%.
Really?
Yeah. And it's just like not hard for Jamie Dimon to flip. I mean, Larry Fink admits
Yeah,
he
Larry
flipped
Fink
on crypto as well. Like at first he hated it, and then he flipped on it because he did more investigation, had some products to sell. I mean, this is exactly what's going on. When it's opportunistic, Wall Street will kind of like flip towards crypto, and this is what we're seeing here. Also this week, Trump says he wants the U.S. in charge of crypto before China. It's a crypto race, I suppose. He said, if I throw it aside, it's going to be picked up by another country, most likely China. They're pretty advanced in this sphere. So you have to look at it. What I want, again, is what is good for the country. And so he's putting crypto in the geopolitical context and said, this is another reason for why he is pro crypto and wants to foster innovation here.
I think Trump's pro-crypto stance and other things, as well as the nomination of J.D. Vance as his vice president, has really kind of won him a lot of hearts and minds. It's been slowly crescendoing in the last month or so, but I think in the last week, and especially since the assassination attempt, just like so many tech giants have just lined up behind the Trump administration. Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz came out as pro-Trump. Brian Armstrong, Elon Musk, the Winklevi, Kathy Woods, Jesse Powell, Eric Thornburg, Silicon Valley is just lining up behind Trump, which is kind of funny because Silicon Valley once upon a time used to be a pretty liberal bastion. But now they're all kind of seeing that Trump is just pro innovation and pro markets, and they're all kind of lining up.
That's it. You know how we've said about the Democrat platform with respect to crypto is just they're leaving free real estate open, right? That's exactly what they're doing with crypto, and the Republicans are taking it, Trump's taking it. But more broadly, they're leaving free real estate open when it comes to tech, big tech, AI, this sort of thing. They don't have a strong platform, and Trump is saying, hey, I'm the pro tech, pro crypto, pro
markets,
whatever you want me to be, pro markets president, right? And so they're lining up behind them. There was a podcast, I haven't listened to it yet, but Mark Andreessen, Ben Horowitz on just why they're supporting Trump, basically. It's still in my queue to read, but all of Silicon Valley is kind of lining up behind this candidate.
If you enjoyed all of that, then you'll absolutely love the Bankless newsletter. Join over 300,000 fellow readers, all for free. Click below to sign up.